What if the real reason you complain has nothing to do with what you complain about? In Numbers chapter 12 in the Bible, we end up seeing this story where Moses' brother and sister, they're complaining about who he's married to, but it really has nothing to do with even the person that he's married to. In fact, it has nothing to do with his marriage. Listen to this. Numbers chapter 12 and verse 1, it says this. Miriam and Aaron, that's Moses' brother and sister, or sister and brother, began to talk against Moses because the Cushite wife, for he had married a Cushite. He married a Cushite. Now, that's being racist. We're not going to get into all that right now, but they're upset about this woman that he's married and who this is. But we know that's not what they're really upset about. And this isn't speculation. I'm not guessing at what's there. Look at the next verse. If you've got a Bible, you end up seeing in verse 2. It says, Numbers chapter 12, verse 2, has the Lord spoken only through Moses? Hasn't he also spoken through us? And see, it's not about the marriage. What does who God has spoken through have to do with who Moses has married? That doesn't even go together. See, their issue was about their own position. It wasn't about who Moses was married to. So what you're complaining about might not actually have anything to do with the discontentment that's actually in your heart. See, the problem for Moses' brother and sister was they had a contentment crisis. And listen to this. In America right now, they just completed the 2025 happiness report. We ranked in America, think about America and all that we have. The fact that you're able to sit probably in a conditioned air space and scroll on your phone and watch this video right now. We ranked 24th in the world for happiness. 24th. That's the lowest we've ever ranked since they've been doing this report. Even worse, Americans that are under 30 years old ranked 62nd in the world on the World Happiness Report. And so our young people are some of the least happy people on the planet. Why? Because we live in a state of constant comparison. It's like the air that we breathe is to look at other people's lives. And no matter what, on social media, you see a nicer house, a nicer body, a nicer vacation, a better meal that they ate for dinner, just more adventurous life. And comparison is the air that we breathe, and comparison is killing our contentment. And so we ask the question when we see the great car, the great house, the great meal, why not me? Why don't I have that? And here's the thing. This is the killer. This is what happens. The danger is that we miss what God's actually given us. And we're robbed of an opportunity for gratitude. And instead we're grumbling over the fact that somebody has something else that we want. Miriam and Aaron, they had incredible positions. They were leaders of Israel. They just had a different role than Moses. And so they don't look and say, wow, God, thank you so much for what you've given me. We don't deserve this. We don't deserve to have this opportunity. I can't believe that we get to be leaders. And thank you that we don't have to stand in the spotlight like Moses does. But what comparison does is it's despite what we have, our own calling, our own things in our life that are blessings that we should have contentment for, our relationships. Instead, what comparison does is it whispers to us, God's holding out on you. There's better for you than what God wants. There's more. Does that sound familiar? Genesis 3? You can have everything in the garden, but just don't eat of this one. Why doesn't God want you to know about that? Who's whispering that? And here's the reality. God takes this seriously. He doesn't just brush it off like, oh, Miriam's just complaining and she's just venting. She got to get it off her chest. He calls it rebellion against his plan. And he himself shows up to confront them. Listen to what he says later in Numbers chapter 12. He's speaking and he's talking about how his relationship with Moses is different than his relationship with any other prophet. He says, when there's a prophet among you, I, the Lord, reveal myself to them in visions. I speak to them in dreams. This is not true of my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my house. With him I speak face to face, clearly, not in riddles. He sees the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? Why are you talking about somebody else's life? Don't I have a plan for you? Does that sound familiar? Fast forward to John chapter 21 when Peter's being restored and he's walking on the beach with Jesus and Jesus just told Peter the kind of death he's going to die. He says, what about him? He's talking about the other guy, John. And Jesus says, you look at me. Follow me. But Numbers chapter 12, what God says next, Listen to what he says. And the anger of the Lord burned against them, and he left them. When the cloud lifted from the tent, Miriam's skin was leprous. It became what? And we'll talk about that. We'll talk more about that. But here's the translation. They weren't called to Moses' role. But they saw something, some benefit of that. They didn't see the weight of it, didn't see the responsibility of it. So the benefit of that, they wanted that. God chose him. It doesn't even matter why. But it says here that he's faithful. There's no one like him. And it talks about him being humble and other places in Scripture. But the why isn't the point. The point is that's for him, not for you. And I wonder for you, are you wasting your energy wishing you had someone else's life, someone else's job, somebody else's marriage, somebody else's house, somebody else's kids, somebody else's success at some level? Here's the mind shift that needs to take place. Contentment isn't about getting what you want. It's about trusting that God has given you exactly what you need. When you stop focusing on all the things you don't have and start asking God for what he's calling you to step into, and you walk in your own calling, that will kill the comparison that's happening in your life. And right now, the comparison trap is becoming a crisis in America. It's plummeting our happiness. It's actually costing some people their lives. And this is just part one in this series on contentment that we're going to do. In the next video, I'm going to talk about the cost of discontentment. I'm going to talk about the cost and what happened in the life of Miriam, and where envy and greed and lust and that discontentment, this covetousness in our own lives takes us. Until next time, I want you to live unleashed and on mission. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and check out the next video.